And we are ready when you are.
Looks like we're good. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to introduce Dr. Estrella. Dr. Estrella, would you do the greeting and get us started?
Thank you, Ms. Fayles. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening in this conversation. This is an opportunity for us not only to give you a brief presentation in terms of the thought process is around the Norwalk High School project, but also most importantly, to give you an opportunity to voice your perspective and feedback on the project. We're looking to having a really brief presentation today because our main focus is really to listen to the community. I know that there's been a number of engagements thus far, and many of you probably already have seen some of the sample plans and the different options. And tonight is an opportunity for you to give us some input in your thoughts around the different models that have been created, so that as we continue to move this conversation forward, we are able to continue to refine the work that has already been started. So if you have questions tonight, you can pose your questions. They will not be answered because it will not be in the form of a Q&A, but we will take note of these questions and create an FAQ at the end of the process. Tonight, everyone will have 3 minutes just to provide their comments. But again, it's not going to be a process where you would engage in a Q&A structure. If the questions that are posed will be answered, as I articulated earlier, in an FAQ. I know that our mayor is here. I'm going to turn it over now to Mayor Reilly.
Thank you, Dr. Estrella, and thank you, everybody, for your interest in this proposal. I think this is an opportunity that we can look forward to and work together to make sure we end up with the best product. I know there's a lot of concern about the possibility of a swimming pool. I just want to let people know that I have reached out to a potential foundation that might be willing to do some fundraising in the event that the pool cannot be done with the funds available. So again, this is a really, really great opportunity. I'm excited about it, and I hope you all are too, with providing our young people and our teachers and our administrators at the school with a state-of-the-art facility that will serve their needs for the distant future. So again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Estrella, for your leadership in this, and let's hear the story.
Ms. Fayles, I'll turn it over to you, and
thank you. Yes, I'll get started by introducing the team. I'm actually going to do something a little different this time. Last time I tried to do a relay, but nobody passed it on. So I'm just going to go ahead and introduce everybody that we have here with us. We have Alan Lowe, who is on the engineering side and facility side for the city. Alan, if you want to wait. Jim Giuliano, who is with us from Construction Solutions Group. Amar Shamaz is our project manager with Gobain. We have Kate Jessup, who is with Castle Booth. That's the architectural firm that is going to be presenting the designs alongside Jim Giuliano and Amar Shamaz. Scott and Paul, you will see, is also part of Castle Booth. I believe that we have some other members of Castle Booth here with us, or of CSG. Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah, we have Dan. Yep. And Brennan White as well.
Okay, so this team is here with us today to present two options for the designs of the new Norwalk P-Tech High School that we hope to get started underway. We are here to get your feedback, to hear your comments. Dr. Estrella explained that your questions can be posed in the chat. We have been collecting chats from the past 3 community meetings, and we are going to put together a comprehensive FAQ to address the questions and the patterns that are coming up in our chat. At the end of this meeting, we will ask you to raise your hand, and you will have 3 minutes to provide your comment. So this is in the interest of time. We have quite a few attendees, and we will make sure to listen to your comment, transcribe your comment, make this recording available, and also the transcription available so that you can actually be informed of our responses to make sure that you've gotten the answers that you needed. So those we hope to actually advertise and have out to everybody probably as soon as tomorrow afternoon, depending on how quickly we can get answers. There's interpretation that's available. You are welcome to use the chat feature in your native language. We will also be able to get that interpretation and the responses interpreted to you. So please feel free to use that. I'm going to begin by passing it over to Alan Lowe, who is going to start us off by describing the process that the city goes to and when we get projects of this sort assigned to us and opportunities like this assigned to us. Alan, would you start us?
Oh, yes, thank you very much. My name is Alan Lowe. I'm staff for the city of Norwalk, responsible for this project, and I'm responsible for all the school construction for the city and the Board of Education. Typically, when after the Board of Education recommend and approve a project, it comes to the city for funding, and after the funding get allocated by the Common Council, we take on the responsibility to implement the projects. So I'm in the interest of making my presentation very short tonight. I think we hired the firms of Castle Booth and a construction management firm of Gilbane to manage this projects. So I think right now, I want to just direct you to Jim. Jim is our project manager for us, so that he's going to go through the history of where the genesis of this project and where we are. So very quickly, so I don't want to take up any more time. Thanks, Jim. Will you please?
Thank you, Alan. Yeah, I'll be brief and kind of giving you a background of how we got to where we are. Back in 2017, the city allocated $6 million for some renovation projects at the high school. That money soon ran out, and they allocated another $5.5 million for a total of $11.5 million. Some of those projects were reimbursable by the state. Some were not. Those projects that were reimbursable by the state were submitted to the state in three different batches. One was the culinary arts and toilet room renovation. One was hazardous material and aesthetic improvements, and then the other one was improvements to the main entrance, the new front entrance. After the third project was submitted to the state called us up, called the mayor, Dr. Adamowski, Dr. Costanzo, Tom Hamilton, Senator Duff, and wanted to have a meeting about the small projects, numerous small projects that were being submitted for reimbursement, and said, you need to have a better, more comprehensive view of Norwalk High School and submit either renovation as new or new project. Well, the city said, being 20% reimbursed or 33% reimbursed on a renovate as new, said, that's something that we can't do at this time. The state said, well, you have a P-TECH program. If you take 100 out of district students, we can increase your reimbursement rate to 80%. Norwalk acknowledged that this opportunity would probably not happen again, so they decided to move forward with the state's offer. We came up with a concept plan and a budget of $225 million. Unfortunately, the state, due to other competing projects, was only allocated $189. And during the design process, we discovered some land use issues, as well as some other issues that forced us to deviate from our concept design to the design that we have now, which put a good majority of the new school within the existing footprint of the current school. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over now to Paul and Scott, to Kate, to kind of give you a little bit of background as to the programming of the Norwalk High School.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm going to walk you through the programming that we experienced over the past almost year now. So when we joined the team, there was essentially an ed spec that we were working with, which is a set of spaces that would be required in the new building. But part of our due diligence was to go through and talk about relationships, the goals for education, where leadership and educators see teaching and learning going in the next 50 years. As Jim mentioned, a new facility is essentially an investment in at least 50 years for a new structure, or a renovate is new. So we really want to be able to capture the goals of the community. Go to the next slide. Through the course of meeting with educators throughout sort of all the departments within the school and understanding the spaces, we were able to come up with this diagram. And essentially, regardless of where the building sits on this site, this diagram serves as sort of the roadmap for the school facility itself. Central in the yellow area, we're looking at the student commons and the media center, which is the binding elements of the two school programs. On the left and the right, you can see the two different school areas, the two pods on the left representing Norwalk High School, and the pod on the right representing PTech. In both programs, we found that there was a goal of interdisciplinary instruction, a move towards more project-based, authentic learning experiences, where teachers are working together, for example, physics and science, or physics and calculus working together, or pre-calculus working together, gives a depth of knowledge to the students, which, this sort of facilitation of these interdisciplinary pods would create. On the sort of north and south side of the screen, you can see on the north, we have, all of the robust performing arts, music and visual arts programming that tie the two schools together. They're located sort of shared between the two schools, as well as on the other side, the gymnasium, the physical spaces, the JROTC, the locker areas, fitness, the gymnasium. Those two sets of programs, or three programs essentially, are really shared between the two schools. So locating them between the two is important. And then you can see that we have two different distinctive administration areas that we wanted to maintain for the two separate schools. In between or adjacent to each of the schools, we have outdoor learning areas, which we're working into the plan. With COVID, we've found that students are going outside more. There's a desire for teachers to bring students outside to support that social emotional piece. And essentially, as I said before, this roadmap served as how we would design the building for either of the two concepts. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Manjali, project manager and architect for Castle Booze. I have here with me Paul Dominoff. He's principal in charge for the project. Going to go over the context of the site very quickly to orient everybody. On the bottom of the screen is the softball fields, and the building is essentially broken down into buildings. We have the A, B, C, D, E building. This will be important as we go through the phasing a little later on. We have the science wing over here, which Jim might have explained that needed to stay relative to what the state guidelines were. So we thought this was an opportunity to make this into the PTech, talking about the interdisciplinary teaching that Kate had talked about. And in the back here, you have the auditorium, gymnasium, and pool. And then farther back on the screen, you have the track and field and the tennis courts. Through the design process, it was clear that the only place to really construct a building was the softball field. So that was the first thing that we needed to do, is sort of design everything around the softball field and to see what we can fit on it. We went through several design options and really ended up with one that limited the footprint and kind of gave back a little bit more land, and Kate was talking about the outdoor areas to try to get a little bit of the clearing and land use for the students rather than the buildings. So this concept that we have for option A is a 4-story structure, classroom wing for the Norwalk High School students. And as I mentioned before, you have the P-Tech renovation of the science wing and a P-Tech addition. You also have, going with Kate's diagram, you have everything around the central core where you have the commons, the media center, and the cafeteria. And you also have the support spaces being the gymnasium, auditorium, the performing arts, and athletics. What we have here is Strawberry Hill on the right and County Street on the bottom. There was a lot of site restrictions with this site. It's not necessarily a big site, so a lot of room is really taken up by the building, as you can see. Getting into the site, how we had broken down our design was you had this 4-story structure at Norwalk High School at the intersection. We try to keep it open, as you can see, with the green space on the west and the east. What this allowed us to do, if you're familiar with Norwalk High School, you have a bus drop off that would be maintained in option A here, and then students would flow into the building on the west side. The administration, we added a new curb cut on County Street to try alleviate the congestion on site and allow more opportunities of ingress into the site. So you have the administration part of the public coming into the main entry over here, generally into the cafeteria, and you can see the building is broken down into the P-Tech, and the pool, the gymnasium, auditorium. The displaced softball field is being replaced on the west side of the site with a synthetic field and multi-purpose field. As you can see, the football field is untouched in this design, but the parking lot is reconfigured. Also using the available access road to Strawberry Hill Avenue, and of course the County Street access continues to be maintained. Amar, if you want to go through the phasing for us.
Sure, thank you, Scott. My name is Amar Shamas. I'm with Gilbane Building Company. We're the construction managers for the Norwalk High School project. Just a brief background, I've been involved, Gilbane have been involved with the project back when it was the Science Wing edition, the Orchestra edition, back between 2003 and 2008. So we're very familiar with the project, very familiar with the existing building and the site. So again, as it relates to phasing related to option A, obviously our first plan is to construct the new 4-story Norwalk High School classroom wing, if you will. So that, again, we establish our site perimeter, which you'll see the area that was going to be encompassed within that new building. The impact on that particular area as it relates to the existing building is really the existing softball field will be displaced, as well as the parking lot right adjacent to the existing science wing. That's also going to be impacted as part of the construction of this particular wing. This is about an 18-month duration for this. Our goal is to start sometime towards the end of the spring into summer of next year and go out for 18 months to complete that first part of the project. Again, during this phase, the existing building, bus drop-off, parent drop-off stays generally the same. No impact to that as it relates to this particular phase. In phase 2, which is the next slide, at this point in time, the impact will be much obviously greater to the site. P-Tech will be underway as far as it relates to construction. As you can see, our laydown area is going to expand around that particular building. And that's about a 16-month duration for constructing and renovating the existing science wing to convert it into P-Tech. Simultaneously, we'll be working on the west side of the project. We'll be demolishing the B, C, D, and E wings in order to facilitate the construction of the music wing that's going to be part of the new project. During this phase, in order to, you'll see some circulation will be changing, as well as there's going to be some temporary connections between the 4-story wing and the existing building A wing. So there's a lot of parts and pieces that's going to be happening here. Some back MEP or mechanical electrical systems will have to be backfed as well during this phase in order to maintain the existing building operational, because it's going the portion of the existing that's remaining operational. So again, some of those activities are going to have to take place. The demolition portion of that, it's about a 4 to 6 month duration. It is a concrete structure. We have to go through an abatement process because it does contain asbestos containing materials. And because of the schedule it's laid out, it's going to take place while the school is actually in session. We will have barricades and separations between the existing occupied areas and the construction areas. However, there will be disruption as it relates to noise being a concrete cast in place structure. this particular part of the demolition phase will be carefully monitored and will end up being to a certain extent will be somewhat disruptive to there because we're so close to the existing occupied areas. As during this particular phase, the other impacts are the cafeteria, the existing cafeteria, which resides in the basement of the B wing. That's going to be obviously part of within the demolition areas. And you'll see as when the project evolves towards the end, the cafeteria, the new cafeteria will not be constructed till the end of the project in 2027. So it'll be approximately 3 years of duration of the cafeteria will have to be a temporary location figured out within the existing building. Same thing with culinary arts, as well as the mini gyms that are the basement of the B wing, they will be also impacted. One additional piece is that the existing media center is going to have to be reduced probably in half size. And there'll be some impacts as it relates to ADA that we're going to have to make provisions and accommodations in order to maintain the existing remaining portion of the project operational for occupancy to meet code. If we go to the next phase 3, so at this point in time, as you could see, PTEC will be wrapping up, and now comes the auditorium and the gym and the music wing portion of part of the project will be underway, constructed again, about an 18-month duration. As you can see, this particular phase here, you'll see that the new building is going to start taking place, but there are areas again of the existing building that's going to continue to be refed in order to maintain occupancy for both the new wing and the existing wing. With that comes mechanical system, electrical system, all have to be interfaced and work and special provisions be made in order to make sure this becomes a seamless process. In the next slide, which is phase 4, at this point in time, as you can see, we're going to be going after the remainder of the existing building demolition. And this is actually, as you can see, there'll be the PTEC from Norwalk High School in the gym area, there'll be a disconnect right there. So we're going to have to install a temporary covered walkway in order to move students and faculty from PTEC to the newly completed wings of the high school itself. Again, this is about a 4 to 6 month duration of demolition. And at this point in time, in order to make in order to facilitate the construction of the balance of the project, which you'll see in phase 5, that's coming right after this one. So in phase 5, this is where we actually construct the last piece of the project, which is the cafeteria, the media center, and the pool area also, if it can be afforded as an alternate. And that particular process is about an 18-month, 16 to 18, excuse me. Okay, so that's about another 16-month duration. With that, the overall duration for the project for phase A is option A is about a 55-month duration, and it's about $191 million construction cost. Kate, if you want to weigh in a little bit about some of the swing space requirements as it relates to the project, option A.
Yeah, absolutely, Amar. I think it's important, and perhaps Sandra, some of the educators can also chime in on this at some point, but there is some significant challenges that are going to happen for the educational space. While all of these phases are occurring, there's essentially going to be points in time which could be up 18 months or could be up to the entire duration of the project in some cases where spaces are not going to be available or at all, or they may be in temporary locations which are not ideal. Those include, as Amar mentioned, the media center, PTEC in its entirety. So that's essentially 500 students who would be impacted. The culinary program, which is also a very expensive program to put in a temporary location. The JROTC program will have a temporary location. The counseling and administrative areas for both schools. The career center, the visual arts would be in essentially classroom spaces, which are very small for what their needs are. Additionally, as you go into the other process, once some of the new spaces are built out, the other spaces may have to move into them in temporary locations. So for example, the media center, even once it has its, the vinyl piece is taken down, it may have to be temporarily located while the new is being constructed. Same with the health center, the nurse, as I mentioned, counseling, psychologists, social workers, which are critical to social emotional health of students, the main offices, all of the arts, and again, the culinary. So we just want to make sure that is an important piece that people are cognizant of in any sort of phase construction like this one.
Okay, thank you, Kate. What you see on here is just a massing study. It doesn't, it just allows us an understanding of how much the building and how big the building is on the site. And you can see, to orient ourselves again, Strawberry Hill is on the right with the bus drop off, and on the left is County Street. What I wanted to say about this is depicting a flat site, but as you may know, there's about a 30-foot grade change between the intersection of the roads and the parking lot. So actually, when you enter the building, you're actually entering on the first floor and the third floor. Getting on to the option B, where we were asked to study how we can put the Norwalk High School and P-Tech Norwalk on the football field, the existing football field. Once again, we went through more iterations in the design because there was a greater opportunity to provide programs in different configurations, where in the option A, we only had fewer opportunities. What we ended up with is sort of an open arm concept where we have the Norwalk High School on the right. It still manages to be a 4-story structure. We did try for 3 and 2 to see if those would work, but it was just taking up too much land. You have the P-Tech on the right, and you still have that initial diagram where you have everything sort of centralized around the cafeteria, the commons area. Also have the media center in a direct line with the core, bringing you back to the pool, auditorium, and gymnasium. The softball field and multi-purpose field is still in the same spot. We found that it was the best spot on the site for that, because as you can see, the football and track needed the largest space available. So that was tucked in at the intersection of the 2 streets of Strawberry and County. Because it is tiered, you come out, generally this is flat up here, you come into the parking lot, and then you tear down about 30 or so feet down to the football grounds here. Off on the right, you have the 2 tennis courts that are tiered because of the grade, and you have ADA and site access to them. We did add another curb cut on King Street to allow more, similar to what we did in the other design with County Street, to allow some alleviation of the congestion that is occurring on the existing site. Again, this is just a massing model. Amar, if you wanted to say a little bit about the phasing.
Sure, thank you, Scott. So again, part of our charge is during the design phases to support the design team with phasing, constructability, and estimating. So when we looked at this particular option B, again, as it relates to phasing, it's a lot more straightforward. It's effectively 2 phases: constructing the new building in one phase, which is about a 3-year duration. And then once that's completed, the school will swing into the new building, and then we take over the existing building in its entirety. Instead of being in multiple phases, we basically put our construction fencing around the area. We abate and demo the existing building away from the new building, obviously, and then we construct the new parking lot and the ball fields that you can see in front of you, and tennis courts. So again, it's effectively 2 phases. As it relates to the overall duration for the project, it's about a 51-month duration. We anticipate starting in the fall of next year if this moves forward, and that will complete sometime in late, around December 27 to early 28. So it's about a 51-month duration. The impacts to this one here, effectively, there's no impact to the existing building at all. We're basically going to be constructing the new building adjacent to that, so that's a plus. Again, the only area that will be impacted will be the softball field area that's going to be used for support spaces, lay down area. So again, the existing building functioning as is, with no impacts during the total duration of construction of the new building. The price, as it relates to construction costs related to this particular option, it's about $193 million, within 1% of option A, obviously. And again, as I indicated, it's about a 51-month duration for construction. That's turning it over to you, Scott.
Okay. Sandra, that's all we had for the presentation.
Thank you both so much. I will end by saying that there have been some questions about the need for the project, and I do want to just underscore the need for a new facility. The current concrete structure poses serious challenges to when we're doing upgrades, in particular to our IT. I will point to a project that took us only 2 weeks at Brian McMahon to do, took us 2 months for us to actually be able to do it at Norwalk High School and P-Tech. So there is an incredible need for this project. We appreciate both options. And now we will open it up to comment. And the comments, I will ask you to focus on these two options and on the presentations that you have said and whatever your opinions are on these. If you raise your hand, we will allow you the comment, but you will be timed just for the sake of getting everybody an opportunity to speak. So if you raise your hand, we will be able to actually allow you to comment. Hi, are you able to, Howard?
Yes, I'm here.
And you can hear, all right, we can hear you also. Please feel free to comment.
Hi there. I am actually the president of the condo association on County Street, directly across from the high school. And I represent 132 homes that are adjacent to literally where this construction is going to be. And for obvious reasons, we have concerns about traffic. We have concerns about noise and literally the construction portion of the project that will take several years to complete, and how it will impact our access in and out of our homes as well as living here. And we're just wondering, are there any measures that are planned for mitigating the impact on our community, not just our community, but the adjacent homes as well? And we support the project. We just need to know that something is being done to mitigate the impact.
Thank you, Howard. Hi, Tyler.
Hi, Sandra. How are you?
Good, thank you. Please feel free to begin.
Sure. My name is Tyler Fairbairn. I'm at 35 King Street. So I am almost right across from the new entrance in option B. I came out last time and we had the opportunity to comment, and I wanted to do the same again, and I will do it every single opportunity I have until we see an option B plan that does not have the entrance on King Street. I just want to reiterate what an utterly horrific idea it would be to have that there. I mentioned at the last meeting, which was, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, that both of my kids have almost been hit by cars coming back on that side of King Street. It happened again since that last meeting when I came out and said the same thing. Cars line up and down King Street, all the way to Strawberry Hill, all the way back to the synagogue for Narramac pickup. And when they do that, cars coming either direction can't see. They turn in, and my kid almost get hit again. So I think the good thing with what you can do to fix the mistake of putting an entrance on King Street, which I assure you will not alleviate congestion. It'll make King Street living hell, and I don't think it'll do what you think it's going to do on Strawberry Hill and County. Is you have a pretty easy fix here that will probably actually save money. If you eliminate, I was trying to pull up the picture quickly, that kind of, I don't know what it is, traffic island with a couple trees on it in between the P-Tech wing and the soccer field in the site plan you showed before. You now just create one large loop that will allow you to go from Strawberry Hill all the way around that backside of the building, come back at County if you want. It's an easy solution to solve what's a gigantic mistake. And again, perhaps it's not something you can see if you're looking at a site plan, if you're looking at a Google image. I can tell you too, and I appreciate the opportunity.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Okay, in those 20 seconds, I will quickly tell you that over the summer and on weekends when it's nice out, at the parking lot in Merrimack by the basketball court, that is used as an area to smoke weed, break beer bottles, listen to SoundCloud, rap as loud as you possibly can, light off fireworks until all hours of the night. And if you add that entrance, they're going to be doing it there, completely unnecessary. Make the big loop, get rid of the King Street entrance. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Adriana?
Hi. Thank you so much. Sorry, 1 second.
Yes.
Did you mute your computer?
Yes.
Hi, sorry about that. Adriana Nasi at 31 King. So first of all, echoing Tyler's sentiments of what the street is like now, and what we are concerned about if you add an entrance on King Street as well. Second of all, I'd like to just make the point that just because we have a certain amount of money to spend on this building doesn't mean that we should spend it all on construction. And I don't see any logic in flipping what is already existing, because you're taking the fields from one side and putting them on the other and adding the buildings where the fields are now to take them away from where you want to put the fields. So that just seems like an unnecessary use of funds to me, in addition to not honoring what we have spent already in developing the fields as they are now. Also, I just feel like the community doesn't benefit from having two school entrances on one street. The street is already small. It already doesn't have the traffic control measures that it requires as is. And what is the discussion there about how we would alleviate those problems? What studies are being done? What measures are being considered? What else? Yeah, and you guys are asking us to comment on these two options, but what have you guys presented as far as considering a new location altogether? I mean, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. You're telling me there's nowhere in Norwalk that we could relocate the school entirely, where the building of the school could happen while not interrupting the kids who are there already? I mean, one of the options is a 51-month projection on construction, which is a huge amount of time. You're taking away the entire high school experience for all of the kids who are going to be in school during that time. And we all know construction doesn't happen in the timelines that we project. So 51 months is already years. And now you're asking us to have kids go through school with an entire experience of the construction coming out of a pandemic where kids have already had their lives upended by the measures of that.
You have 25 seconds, Adriana.
So anyway, there are other sites. Are we considering that? I don't know. I just think it's a really bad idea. Both of the options are terrible. And I don't like that they were developed without any input from the community in the first place. And I think it would be wise to reconsider entirely and going back to the drawing board. You guys have had town meetings before that.
Thank you, Adriana, so much.
Put in our input.
Zara, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Zara, you have 3 minutes to provide us your comment.
Thank you. Thank you. I am neighbors with Tyler and Adriana, live on 37 King Street. I am an architect and an educator, and I am surprised about the proposal that is the outreach to the community is so late in the phase. I was wondering if the architect group are local. Do they know Norwalk? Do they have zoning? There is a, they talked about 50 years projection for education pattern and relationship to outdoor spaces. The buildings look like a shopping mall rather than a school building. As a matter of fact, the existing school has very sensitive layout. Yes, I understand it is concrete, but it has virtues that can be enhanced. If it is too small and doesn't meet the need, you can still consider moving the Merrimack Nathan Hale Middle School to the high school and build a brand new high school somewhere else based on your specification and desire and for a much larger student body. PTech, I mean, it's great. We need trade school as well, but perhaps it can be, if it is going to draw student body from neighboring towns, perhaps it should be considered closer to the train station access, public transportation access. Instead, you're embarking upon this little itty bitty street that is already congested whenever there is a soccer team or a sports field or activity. In addition to high school parents still drop off their kids on King Street and the kids simply cross the Merrimack Elementary School's parking lot to get to their school. So you are making already a congested little streets impossible to reside.
Thank you, Zara.
You're welcome.
Hi, Rob. If you unmute yourself, we can hear you.
I'm now unmuted, and I'm also a resident of King Street, and I also feel that option B, I've been trying to organize our neighborhood to put speed bumps on King Street as it is. When Tyler says that his children have nearly been run over, I've seen that happen not only to Tyler's children, but to other people walking on the street multiple times. There's already a very bad traffic flow problem with the parents lining up to pick up the elementary school kids at Narromackie. Given the fact that the schools are letting out essentially the same time within a few minutes, having high school traffic and the elementary school traffic at the same time would make the road nearly impassable. There's also, I personally was nearly run over by a car speeding down King Street when I was just trying to cross the street walking my dog. The idea that the project would have to be basically shoehorned into the existing space when you're talking about a need for a greater facility. There are places in town like the old Norden area that you could probably have all the room you need to put just a brand new high school. And kids could continue to have a regular high school experience at the current location. And then when the new school is finished, just move the whole thing there. There are probably other locations within the city that could be function as the new location for a new high school. It seems that the current piece of land is a little bit shy of what is really needed for all that you want to do. I understand that the state is offering money, and it seems like an opportunity to take advantage of that, to have a better facility, but why not make it amply sized by looking at other locations? That's all I've got to say.
Thank you so much, Rob. Hi, Gloria, we can hear you.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Gloria Needwer, 36 Pedham Road. First, I'd like to go on the record and say that I don't really love either option, just for the fact that I don't think we can afford it. It is nice to have state funds. Always great to get free money, but if we can't pay for the rest to get it done the way it's presented this evening. Things are going to have to get cut, and it's just going to be one of the same things Norwalk usually does, doing things halfway, and we have to pay a ton of money for it, and we're not happy with it. So I say no to both. But with that being said, option A is not an option for my family. My child is going to be a P-Tech freshman this fall, and I do not want him walking outdoors to go to the Norwalk High wing at that phase of construction to get to core classes. I do not want him to be near the hazardous materials when wings B, C, D, and E are going to be demolished. The P-Tech students are going to be in the most dangerous situation during that phase, and I think that's completely unfair. You're asking these kids to sacrifice their high school years after enduring a pandemic for the last two, so I don't understand how option A can even be considered. As far as option B, I think that's the better of the two. Although I do understand the concerns with the people on King Street, the residents, but if I had to choose, I would choose option B. I hope you are listening to the P-Tech parents. They're a small community, but I will be a part of that next year, and it will be a louder community when that happens. So thank you for all the hard work you have put into this, and I hope that the mayor can secure the funds needed to see this project to fruition if we are all forced to have it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Hi, Carol. We can hear you.
Hi, my name is Carol Mesa. My son goes to P-Tech currently. I would be concerned also, as the previous parent mentioned, although he's going to be a sophomore, of having him, out of the school, going into another building to attend to regular classes. I'm also concerned about the health hazards that they might be exposed to when they're working on the construction, especially since the project manager mentioned that, they know that there's asbestos in the building, and I'm sure they'll do the appropriate, of covering the walls and everything, but that is a concern. And as it is right now, the traffic in Strawberry Hill and in County Street, it's really bad in the mornings. I mean, there's children. I've had to get off out of my car twice to stop cars from running over students on Strawberry Hill because of the speeding. So I cannot imagine what traffic would be like having a full construction. I'm also wondering if they have considered Northern Place. Since there is the space, they have the space, and parking is huge, and I think I'm not sure if they considered that option, but thank you so much for your time and for all the work that is being put on into this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol. With that, I'm going to ask Dr. Estrella. Dr. Estrella, are you on?
I'm here.
Thank you so much. Dr. Estrella, would you like to do our closing?
So I want to thank you, Ms. Fayos. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening and for providing us with some important insight around your thoughts and concerns. I think these are important elements that we will take into consideration as we continue to move forward with the development of this project. Again, have a wonderful evening. And I, again, appreciate everyone being here this evening, providing your perspectives. We will have another community forum, and we're hoping to have other members of the community join us so that we can continue to solicit the community's input.
Thank you so much.
Have a great evening, everyone.